Wheat. Wheat is the second most important cereal crop, which belongs to cool temperate regions. Please underline cool temperate regions. Now let us first know the region where they are talking. Temperate is that temperate region in the northern temperate region and the southern temperate region. Now cooler one will be towards the Arctic Circle and towards the Antarctic Circle. Clear? The cooler regions will be next to the circles, Arctic Circle and Antarctic. 66.5 degrees north, 66.5 degrees south, a little before that. Maybe from 45 to 66 is a cooler region for us. Approximation we can think of. Okay, na? And temperate, you know which region is. First is the torrid, next to the equator to the Tropic of Cancer and Capricorn. From Tropic of Cancer to Arctic Circle, that is the temperate region. From Tropic of Capricorn to Antarctic Circle is your temperate region in the south. And we are here talking about the cool temperate regions. That means the temperate region ka upar ka belt, which is moving towards the pole. Did you get that region in both the sides clear? So those are the regions where you have rice, wheat plantation. And it is the second most important. Now let us see. It requires the following conditions for its better growth. Number one, a cool growing season. Obviously, that is why it is there. Now, why is it not done in the frigid zone? Why? Because it is thoroughly snow-packed in that region. Frigid is the coolest region. इतना भी ठंड नहीं चाहिए. Temperate से, that means moderate से थोड़ी ज़्यादा ठंड चाहिए. So they need cool temperature to grow, and that is the best region for them. The temperate and especially the cooler temperate regions. Clear? Then a bright sunshine at the same time, at the time of ripening. Now, while they are ripening, they also need a sunshine. So that means they need a moderate temperature. Thanda bhi chahiye, garam bhi chahiye. There you only get that you only get in the temperate region. So that is the reason. Next, it requires 50 to 75 centimeters of annual rainfall. A moderate rainfall, not very high, not very low. Clear? Next, well-drained loamy soil. Loamy soil is needed. Okay, and it has to be well-drained. Now, the variety of soils you all must have done earlier. Clear? I hope you have done. No or yes? If you want, I can go through that chapter and tell you the types of soils once again when we meet. Okay, so what I'll do is, since we are doing agriculture, I'll just go through where the soil types are given, and I'll recollect and come back with a better knowledge. Like I know good about alluvial soil with the basic soil. Clear? The black soil I know, but these loamy and clay I need to know a little more better before I come and teach you. So if you want, I can do that for you if you really are interested, which I think you should be. ठीक है ना? अभी तक geography खेल के पढ़िए, अब जरा समझ के पढ़ेंगे. ठीक है ना? Okay. So coming back, wheat is mainly grown in, underline please, USA, Canada, Argentina, Russia, Ukraine, Australia, and India. India is a tropical country, therefore it is grown in winter in India. Did you get this concept? Wheat is grown in winters in India because India is a tropical country and they have mentioned it here. Why? Because wheat is grown in a climate where you need little cool and you need the sunshine. Okay? Now we next come on to sit straight. Millets. Jowar, bajra, ragi are the important millets which are mainly grown in India, Nigeria, China, and Niger are other countries where millets are grown. They are also known as coarse grain. Coarse means rough. ठीक है? They are the rough grains. अगर तुमने इनका आटा देखा हो, बाजरे का आटा या फिर ज्वार का या रागी का, they are little thicker and they do not crush and turn into a smooth flour like the wheat grain. Have you ever seen a bajre ka atta? देखा है? नहीं देखा है. Okay. They are little thicker and coarse. They are not very smooth once you turn it into a powder. Yeah. Once you grind them, they are not very refined powders. Yeah. So that is why they are called millets. And the example of millets are jowar, bajra, and ragi. Yeah. Okay. Now they are also known as coarse grain. Millets can be grown on less fertile and sandy soil. So in India, where do you think it will be grown? Come on, use your brain. Less fertile and sandy soil. Rajasthan. If you remember Rajasthan, if you recollect, वहां पर बाजरे की रोटी बनती है. Why? Because it's a coarse grain and it doesn't need a lot of water, and poor people, they are living in a desert area. So this is a staple crop for them. Did you get it? And just we got it through our logics. We didn't have to really brush our brains or go into the details of any GK question awareness. Okay, this is what we should correlate with the soil type and the temperature. Clear? Okay. I lost the lines. Okay. Millets crop can also grow in low rainfall and high to moderate temperature. So again, suitable enough for the areas which are getting lesser rainfall, plus their temperature medium should be from high to moderate. Clear? Next is maize. Maize, it is a crop which is used both as food and fodder. What is fodder? Chara. Chara. खाने के लिए भी और चारे के लिए भी. That means chara, are we going to eat it? The animals. Okay. So maize is a crop which is also used for food as well as for fodder. It is also a tropical crop. Underline that. Tropical crop it is, which requires moderate temperature and rainfall. So again, you are knowing it needs moderate temperature and rainfall. So being in tropical area, needing moderate. So what do you think where it would be? Touching the temperate belt where the tropicals are ending, where the torrid zone is ending and the temperate starting. That is the area where they will be finding it more. Clear? From both in the northern and in the southern areas. But southern is more of a water because more oceans are there in the southern. That is why the southern hemisphere is also known as water hemisphere. And the northern major, most of the continents lying there in the northern hemisphere. Northern hemisphere is also known as land hemisphere. ठीक है ना? सब याद आ रहा है कि नहीं आ रहा है? Okay. Now, it is mainly grown in North America. Now this comes the learning, there comes the learning part. North America, Brazil, China, Russia, Canada, India, and Mexico. Nobody on earth can make you understand this. You have to learn this. Okay. So here we stop for this time. Next, when we meet, we'll be doing the fiber crops. I hope you have understood. Okay, so good morning class. We were doing agriculture and last time we finished on till the various crops and the places where they are grown, which is more suitable for them. We discussed about it. Now we come on to the fiber crops. Okay. We were told that there were four or there were different categories into which we have divided the major crops. One was food crops. Under that we did rice, wheat, millets and maize, right? Now we come on to the fiber crops. Cotton, jute, hemp and natural silk are the four major fiber crops grown in the world. The first three are derived from the soil by growing crops, whereas silk is obtained from cocoons of silkworms fed on mulberry leaves. Please underline how you get the silk. Cotton, jute and hemp, you get it from the crops by growing them in the soil. Whereas the silk, the fourth one, the natural silk, you get from silkworms which are fed on the mulberry leaves. Rearing of silkworms for the production of silk fiber is known as cericulture. Please underline that. What is cericulture? Rearing of silkworms for the production of silk fiber. Then cotton and jute are widely grown fiber crops in the world. Obviously, you need it for clothes, etc. So these are the major ones. Then we talk of the fiber cloths, cotton. It is the main raw material for the cotton textile industry. It is mainly produced in Bismarck, China, USA, India, Pakistan, Brazil, and Egypt. India is believed to be the original home of the cotton plant. Please underline that. It requires the following conditions for its best growth: high temperature and light rainfall. Obviously, the cotton balls are too light, and if you'll have more rainfall, the cotton balls will be destroyed in it. So you need high temperature, yet you need less rainfall. Clear? 210 frost-free days and bright sunshine. For 210 days, they need bright sunshine with a frost-free day. That means no frost also. ठीक है, जरा सा भी moisture होगा in the air, the cotton balls might get destroyed. It grows best on black and alluvial soil. Okay. Next, it is a tropical kharif crop which requires 6 to 8 months to mature. Please underline 6 to 8 months of maturity. And it's a tropical kharif crop. That means it is grown in the torrid zone. Yeah, tropical is same as the torrid zone. It's the other name of it. Yeah. Next we come on to jute. This crop is grown in the tropical areas and is also known as the golden fiber. Please underline the other name of it, golden fiber. And it is only because of its color. Okay. It grows well on well-drained fertile soils in the floodplains where soils are renewed every year. It requires high temperature and a heavy rainfall. It is used in making gunny bags, mats, ropes, carpets, and other artifacts. Bangladesh and India are the leading producers of jute. Please underline that. Now, we all know jute bags are very common, and jute plays a very important role for the basic things like artifacts, the mats, etc., or are all useful. It is grown in a high temperature area and with a lot of rainfall, heavy rainfall. Clear? So underline that India is one among the leading producers of jute. Then we come on to the third variety, the beverage crops, tea, coffee, etc. Okay. So we know come on to beverage crops, coffee. It is well grown in warm and wet climate or hot and humid climate is best suited for its growth. Underline warm and wet or underline hot and humid. It requires well-drained loamy soil and hill slopes are more suitable for the growth of this crop. Brazil is the leading producer of coffee. You have done it earlier also. Yeah? So know it, Brazil is the leading producer of coffee. Colombia and India are other major producers. Even they produce in good amount. Now, they have again told you this climate type. It should be warm, it should be wet, and loamy soil. Clear? Which is a well-draining soil. That means mostly it is grown on the hills where the soil keeps on getting replenished by the regular water supply. Clear? And the new soil is added every now and then because of the washing away. Yeah. Next we come on to tea. It is an example of plantation agriculture. Underline it, plantation agriculture. It is well grown in tropical and subtropical climates. Now, tropical and subtropical, that means the main torrid belt and a little closer to temperate. Clear? It requires deep and fertile, well-drained soil, rich in humus and organic matter. When we say well-drained, that means the water is getting washed away and the soil, along with it, the soil also gets washed up and replenished by new soil. Here, that means it is somewhere in the slopes only. Okay? It requires deep and fertile, well-drained soil, rich in humus and organic matter. High rainfall, evenly distribution throughout the year is the prime requirement for the growth of its tender leaves. There should be moist and frost-free climate all through the year. It is well grown on gentle slopes and requires intensive labor to pick the leaves. Kenya, India, China, and Sri Lanka produce the best quality tea in the world. Please underline these places. And they are telling you that the slopes are the best suited places for its growth. Note, India is the leading producer as well as exporter of tea in the world. It is the leading producer, India, and also exporter. The quality of tea is so good that it is even exported to other countries. Next, we come on to other crops, which are a part of like rubber. It is an equatorial crop which require hot and humid climate, but under special conditions, it is also grown in tropical and subtropical areas. Though it requires hot and humid climate, but it is grown in the tropical areas. It requires an annual rainfall of more than 200 centimeters and temperature above 25 degrees centigrade. So 25 degrees centigrade is easily available in India. Don't worry. We have the 45 degrees in summers. Clear? So it requires, and what it requires is easily available in India. It is an important industrial raw material mainly grown in equatorial countries. Malaysia is the leading producer, and India ranks 5th among the world's natural rubber product producers. So underline Malaysia, it is the top producer, and India is also not far behind. It is the 5th producer. Yeah, it will be better instead of drawing the whole line, you just draw the leading producer, right? Leading, underline Malaysia. And when you're doing India, right? Underline India and the 5th. It will give you an impact of reading instead of the whole thing being underlined. Next, we come on to horticulture crops. Horticulture is a kind of agriculture in which we grow fruits and vegetables. Underline this. Fruits and vegetables are grown. That is why it is called horticulture. Horticulture crops are grown in different parts of the world. India is the largest producer of fruits and vegetables in the world. And no doubt, you must visit the mandi. You will see this surplus amount. Now, agricultural development. How far India has been developing in the field of agriculture. We all know that India is an agricultural country. Yet, what are the developments? How far we have developed from the time we got independence? We need to know and we have to work upon. Agricultural development means to make efforts to increase agricultural production in order to meet the growing demand of increasing population and to maintain food security. We can increase farm production by adopting following methods. Now here they are telling you, ever since India took into agriculture, what were the works which made the production increase to meet the demands of the growing population. We know India is one among the populous countries and the population is exploding with an immense rate. So we need to know and work on the production level to match up with the needs of the country. So what are the ways in which we can enhance the production? First daughter, crop area should be increased. Obviously, we need more lands for growing crops. Next, by growing variety of crops, there should be variety, not just one crop in a particular land throughout the year. No, if the time distribution is looked after and managed properly, we can have at least 2 or 3 crops rotated and done in a particular year. Yeah, backbones are straight today. My class is looking very, dull. Give me a brighter look. Or do you want me to revise the lecture saying that this time should not be lost? You all know it by now. यहाँ पे ध्यान से पढ़ोगे. When you go home, it will be called a second bonus reading for you. But if you're not paying attention, if everything is going above, then तो घर जाके पढ़ना पड़ेगा. So decide for yourself. You can't run away from this period. So better to listen. Okay? And give me a brighter look, please. Okay? Thank you. Next is by improving irrigational facilities. Now, not just the crops and land, we need to be working on our irrigational facilities. The proper water should be provided to the plants with the amount which is needed by them. Clear? Next is use fertilizers, manures, pesticides, and insecticides. So the proper use of manure in the form of pesticides, insecticides, etc. should be replenished time and again as and when required. Next, use of high yielding variety HYV. Please underline this. It could come as an abbreviation. What is the full form of HYV? High yielding variety. You know how it is done. Supposing a wheat or a rice plant is grown. Now, while they are young saplings, there's a thorough look done and plucked out the best ones. Then those best ones are planted in a separate, more fertile field. That means the seeds of a healthy plant are given an opportunity to develop more. And in this way, the high yielding, the best quality seeds are taken, and from those plants, again, the variety is kept in check so that only the best quality seeds and the high yielding capacity of those seeds are used. Clear? Next is mechanization of agriculture. Now, the use of the latest methods, tools and equipments are to be needed to make the agricultural land be generating the products more quickly. Supposing you are sowing the seeds with your hands, it will take a longer time, and maybe 1 month you will be wasting on just planting the plants. Whereas if you have a mechanized way of working, if you have the latest tools and equipments, you are doing it at a quicker pace. Clear? So that is also needed. So these are the various factors which can increase the yield of a particular crop. And India being an agricultural land, it has to work upon its development. Next, different kinds of agriculture develop in different parts of the world according to popular requirement. For example, in developing countries like India, intensive agriculture is developed as farm sizes are small and there is heavy population. Whereas in countries like USA and Canada, large farms of agriculture are found with commercial farming due to spare population and extensive land is available for agriculture. So the basic difference between Indian agriculture and USA and Canada as compared to India. The basic thing is because of the growing population, we have lesser places. No, while I'm teaching, please do not have water. So India being a populous country, we have lesser space for agriculture. We follow subsistence agriculture, intensive agriculture. Whereas in USA or Canada, the population is sparse. There's less population, and we have huge land areas available for plantation. Maybe multiple crops are grown there, and so since they have surplus, they are also using it for commercial use. That means they are exporting it and getting money in return of what they are selling as crops. Clear? So this is a basic difference because of the population. We are suffering, though we are the one among the best agricultural countries. Now here is a comparison between the farm size of India and USA. Farms in India. India is the developing country with heavy population, and due to that, limited land is available, and also the average farm size is very small. Farmers use HYV, high yielding varieties of seeds to increase their production, and they grow at least 2 crops in a year, which are normally wheat or rice or pulses. Farmers produce crops for the subsistence of their families and not for sale. The average Indian farmers have no facility to do agriculture in a mechanized way. They still depend upon the traditional methods of farming. These farmers also rest some animals like hen, buffalo, cow, etc., which gives them meager income. All the members of the family help farmers in various farm activities. Farmers are mainly poor and they depend upon bank or on agricultural cooperative societies to take credit or loan to buy HYV seeds and implements. Farmers sell their product in the mandi located in the nearby town, since they do not have proper storage facilities, and they are forced to sell their agricultural produce even when the market is not favorable to them due to the absence of proper storage facilities. Nowadays, government is making efforts to develop storage houses, but still more efforts are needed in this field. I hope every word is clear. Small lands, poor people, all the family members helping them out in the farm, the main farmer is helped by the family members, and no mechanized means to grow the crops. They only have the subsistence. They only have that much which could sustain them to live. Whatever surplus is, they immediately sold it in a mandi or a place where the vegetables and crops are sold. Why? Because there are no proper storage places for these poor farmers. So in the long run, this is the major drawback for our country. And in a very cheap rate, they are selling things. Though they know whatever they are selling could have yielded them more, they could have costed it more. But since they don't have a storage ground, they know if I'll keep it for 10 days, it'll get spoiled here. Let me sell it so that at least I get something. Yeah. So whatever they sell in bulk in the mandi, those mandi people, they sell it in an abundance price. They sell it in a much more price than what they have taken it from the farm. So this is the drawback. Let's see the farms in USA. In the USA, large extensive fields are found where an average farm is much larger than an Indian farm. An average farm size in the USA is about 250 hectares. The farmer generally resides in the farm. Crops are grown mainly for commercial purposes. Corn, soybean, wheat, cotton, and sugar beet are the major crops grown here. Farmers mainly use modern tools and equipments, and whole agriculture system is mechanized. Farmers are rich and believe in scientific and plant farming as they are educated and well aware about the modern methods of agriculture. They use chemical fertilizers and pesticides wherever they are required. They use tractors and drills, combined harvesters and threshers to perform various agricultural operations. They store their farm produce in the automated grain storage or dispatch to market agencies. The farmers in the USA work like businessmen and not like farmers. Clear? They have huge piece of land, much more than what Indians have. Then they are educated, they have well mechanized way of working. They rotate the crops and there are multiple crops grown there. And that is the reason why they are far superior in their production as compared to India. Yeah. With this, we stop here for today. We will take up the question answers maybe tomorrow or when we meet next.